has many names, but perhaps the most appropriate is the Prince of Darkness. Now, some claim he's a mythological figure, but to others he's far too real. A creature some say was once a bringer of light, but one whose presence here on earth has been a plague on goodness and godliness, a catastrophe of unparalleled evil. He's the destroyer of souls. I'm speaking, of course, of Barack Obama. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle, here with your Trifecta stalwarts, Steve Green and Scott Ott, and we're here to point out a remarkable coincidence, because a History Channel program called Simply Enough, The Bible, has been a smash hit in the ratings, and in that program, viewers caught a glimpse of a minor sprite, relatively speaking, a fellow by the name of Satan. And I think the producers of the show were unsure how to portray the face of pure evil, so they simply went right to the source and came up with this guy. Now, it's been claimed by Glenn Beck and others that Mehdi Ozani, who's played Satan before apparently, bears a striking resemblance to Barack Obama. Can we see them side by side there for a second? Terrifying. Man, that picture is creeping me out. And the guy in the hood is kind of spooky looking too. Scott, as a deeply religious man,
oh, I thought you were talking about yourself.
No, no.
Well, if I were a deeply religious man, oh, you mean a guy who loves Jesus and reads the Bible every day. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, I think that we are completely twisted on this notion that Satan has to look like that creepy guy with the big mole that, you know, may or may not resemble somebody else that we know. The reality is, and I wish movie makers would do this more often, because temptation doesn't come as this, you know, wicked witch with the bent nose and the giant wart on it, or this creepy hooded character. Temptation comes as an angel of light. Temptation comes handsome and smooth and gracious and apparently loving and draws you in. People would be scared away if Satan came in the guise of something creepy and scary like that. No, Satan should be portrayed as somebody handsome, young, vibrant, from Chicago, somebody who's been elected. Well, anyway, go ahead.
You sly dog, you.
Now, Steve, I have to tell you, I don't think they're two separate people. I think it's actually the same guy. I think that when you get the makeup and suit off of Barack Obama, he actually looks like the guy in the hood. I actually think that's what he looks like as he wanders the halls of the White House at midnight.
Wandering the halls at night, speaking to the ghost of Richard Nixon, asking for tips on how to deal with his political opponent. But you know what? That's a step up from his daily phone call to Jimmy Carter, who he asked for policy advice. You know what? When you stop and think about that, he's got the ruthlessness of Richard Nixon with the ruthless incompetence of Jimmy Carter.
Oh,
you know what? It wouldn't matter who Obama looks like. He could look like Anne Hathaway in a bikini. Let's all pause for that for a moment. He could look like Anne Hathaway in a bikini, and he'd still be Satan.
Let the hate flow through you. Scott, you know, the show that this causes thing, the History Channel show called The Bible, is a runaway smash in the ratings department, and the mainstream media doesn't know why. The show only got a 44 on their sophisticatometer. But people are watching it in droves. So can you explain this utter mystery to the network swells and the New York skyscrapers?
Well, I think I would ask the question is, why is it that the Bible is still the best-selling book of all time? Why do they sell more and more Bibles every year? That there are fresh translations coming out every year. More people are interested in this. I mean, there is something about this Jesus character that's absolutely compelling. And the backstory and the future of what awaits those who believe is fascinating. Even if you just look at it as literature, it is so gracious and so well written. If you look at it as story and narrative, is some of the most dynamic. There's so much dramatic tension in these stories and so much of the essence of human nature. Of course it's going to be watched, and it's going to be sold in DVDs out the wazoo, and people will be watching it on Netflix forever.
Well said. And by the way, you know, I don't mean to be too snarky about this, but if somebody would just press a silver crucifix into Barack Obama's forehead, if it didn't burn his skin and catch fire, I'd be convinced. I'd be utterly convinced there's nothing to this. Steve, not long ago, another show called Game of Thrones got into hot water for putting a prosthetic head of George Bush on a pike. Now, they had to pull the episode, they had to redo the DVD, and the producers got into a bunch of trouble. HBO issued an apology, just as the History Channel has for portraying Satan so accurately. No, much ado about nothing.
Oh,
Much ado about nothing, Steve, or a small blow for cultural sauce for the gander.
Oh, it's been really fun to watch the twisting. If you want to know how thin-skinned the left is, on Twitter on Monday, they felt the need to start a Obama is not Satan hashtag and get all their little astroturfers praising the high and mighty one for not being Satan. But I have to tell you, as a libertarian, but also as an agnostic, I'm very deeply conflicted over that. My agnostic side says, well, Satan isn't real, but my libertarian side looks at his policies and, well, I start feeling some of that old-time religion, my friend.
You know, he's come out, he said, I'm not a socialist, and he's come out and he said, I'm not a dictator, and now he's come out and said, I'm not Satan. Well, I, for one, welcome our new satanic overlord and would like to remind him that as a trusted member of the media, I can be useful in rounding up other humans to toil in his underground ratings cave. Now, the fact is, I'm just delighted about this, I really am. For 5 years now, we've heard politicians say, I can't criticize Obama, he's too popular. He's too popular because nobody criticizes him. So this is just a tiny little jab in the pop culture, but it's one going the other way for a change. It outrages the left and gives us something to smirk about in these decidedly low smirkage days. Is it unfair? Yeah. For PJTV, I'm Bill Woodall.